For those of you who have just tuned in, Mary Sheila also works with me in the Women Food and Forgiveness Academy. And she does beautiful work teaching about, Ayurveda and self-care and all these fabulous self-care habits and nutrition as well. Tell us a little bit more. Tell us some of the food industry's dirty secrets, Mary Sheila. Some of the ways, like these are really good things for people to know about, like what the food industry does to kind of hoodwink us around our food choices.
Yeah. And they've got a lot of them, actually.
Yeah, they sure do.
And I mean, the probably the most important one is the way that they manufacture food to excite our dopamine receptors. So, I always think about maybe a chip that you can't eat just one of, right? So that the flavors just spread over the tongue to get as much taste factors. And it's hard to compare that to just a regular, whole food that doesn't have all of that going, right? Wow, so that's not the first thing. And dopamine, like, what is dopamine? So dopamine is a neurotransmitter. And when we get excited by it, it's like we want more of that. And that's kind of how it works in the body. And that's the opposite of just feeling maybe more satisfied. Like, oh yeah, I don't need that. I'm good. Or, I don't need to go shopping and get more clothes. I'm good. Where dopamine's like, give me more. I want that feeling. So that's
dopamine is also the neurotransmitter that gets activated when we're craving. Give me more.
Oh, totally. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And the
person say brown rice or quinoa or something, like,
broccoli,
it's just,
yeah.
It's just not that exciting.
It doesn't excite us. We might love it, but it doesn't excite the brain the same way. So there's another thing, actually, that the food industry has figured out, and they have a term for it, and it's called vanishing caloric density. Yeah. So those are the foods, some of the kind of fried, chippy kind of foods that melt in your mouth. And so you eat them, and by the time you swallow them, there's barely anything left. So it tricks your stomach into thinking that you haven't eaten that much. So it's very easy and not very filling to eat the whole bag, but it still has lots of, sugar, salt, and fat that we have.
Yeah. So this is like, there's a certain jalapeno flavored cheese puff.
Exactly.
Those cheese puffy type. They kind of they look and taste and have a texture of like packing peanuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. So those, exactly. So that like if you think about eating one of those, that kind of, like you're saying, the melt in your mouth feeling.
Exactly. And you can suck on it. It'll melt in your mouth and you're barely swallowing anything. And, and a lot of the food that's, highly processed has a really easy to go down, right? Easy to go down, easy to swallow, like a lot of the burgers and things like that. And then I'll tell you one other secret that I think is an important one. That is that they are counting on, and this kind of takes us back to breakfast. So we'll circle back there.
Okay.
They're sort of counting on us to snack more than we are to have meals. So the more we snack, the more we are rushing around and we don't have time to sit down and nourish ourselves with a good, healthy meal, right? Then we are just grabbing something. I can't tell you how many times my clients are like, is this a good bar? And I'm like, well, how often do you have your bar? Because a bar is not a meal. If the bar is there as an emergency or as a snack, okay. But maybe once in a while as an emergency, but it's not a meal. And so they're counting on us to snack rather than have meals. And then what they figured out is, like, for example, adults, right, or people our age or older, they're not going to go for the brand new, the brand new cheese puff that's just fresh off the market. They might be more comfortable with like the old school potato chips. So what they've done is they said, okay, we know baby boomers are into the old school potato chips. So we're just going to expand the line out and we're going to have 24 different flavors of these.
It's called product proliferation.
Okay, there you go. There's a name for that. So they've expanded it way out. And then now I'm very comfortable with that kind of potato chip. So I'm going to try all these different flavors.
The sour cream and onion and the barbecue and the...
Yeah, and they're going to excite my dopamine. So those are a couple of their secrets that, keep us coming back for more. And so to circle back to breakfast, if we are eating a good, healthy breakfast, which if you don't mind me plugging my breakfast report, you can download my breakfast report at
Occidentalnutrition.com.
Yeah, and I really explain, and Marcella does a good job in her book too, explaining about breakfast. But if you think about if you have a good breakfast and you get your blood sugar balanced, if you eat lunch, if you eat meals and not snacks, you're not going to be as tempted for all that, those temptations of corporate food, really.
What do you want people to take away from this conversation? I mean, we've covered a lot. We've been through a lot of topics here. Like, what's the main thing you want people to take away?
Well, I mean, I think just that mindfulness around the choices that we make when we eat our food, and in a sense, like, who's benefiting? When we eat something, is it a benefit for me and my body and my health? Is this going to help me achieve the goals that I want, or am I simply like stuffing the pockets of the corporate? And is this food sort of an empty calorie thing? And I get it. It's not about perfection. Every once in a while, we might be like, F it, I want to have that thing. But a lot of times it's about really, who's going to benefit. So maybe that's something, a good way to think, like, who's going to benefit from this?
Mm-hmm.
And then can I just add one other thing? I would just say, I'm in the middle of your new book too. And I'd say, another thing is, this is a really brilliantly written book, and the message, and, you really are.
I was going to say this.
I know, but you really are calling it in to Mother Earth, and just giving us that awareness, because, I mean, I'm a practitioner of Ayurveda. We are Mother Earth.
Yeah.
We need to honor our body as much as we need to honor our planet. The two go hand in hand. And what's happening with health-wise and environmental-wise is just it's a mirror reflection. So it's a beautiful book just to support people on the path of food, because it is so personal, and it can be really, it's gotten really convoluted. And so your book just really tries to, get through the cobwebs and look at it in a very different perspective. And I really appreciate your perspective. So, and I know the women that are in the academy and that you've worked with have, in our work together, the women are changing a lot.
Radically.
Yeah, there's radical change, and it's fun to be a part of. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would say is every day is Earth Day. And the shorter we make our food chain, in other words, the more locally we can source our food, the more we know about where our food comes from, and the more wholesome food choices we can make. That is one of the most profoundly effective ways that we can reverse the trend of global warming and climate change. It is one of the most profoundly effective ways that we can heal our body. And it is one of the most profoundly effective ways that we can feel deeply connected to everything that is.